What's up, everybody? It's been brought to my attention, right, that a lot of my videos pertain to my experiences and with women, the opposite sex or whatever the case may be, regarding relationships. And it's difficult sometimes for women viewers to understand how they can associate what I say to their situation because they're women and they deal with men, right? Granted, duly noted. So with that being said, I can touch bases on relationships that I've had with men as well. They will be missing intimacy, however, at the same time, they're relationships nonetheless. And we can relate this to the seventh house, this is other people. And a lot of the times all of the times when there's partnerships or relationships, you are in situations that pertain to that house of other people, right? So it's valid for me to speak upon that. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to talk about a relationship that I had with a Taurus male, so I can convey how they operate as well, at least from my experience. And this can also be parallel to the experiences that I had with women in some types of cases, right? Some types of scenarios. So we can at least reflect and women who are involved with Taurus men, you can see if any of this resonates with you as well. So here we go. I'm gonna start off by saying I knew this guy from the street. This ended up being a business dealing, okay, which most of my dealings are. But I knew this guy before we actually did the deal together, right? And this was in the entertainment field. This was around the time when industry execs were like, they were big on, well, how big is your buzz? How, alone, on your own, how are you doing out there alone? Like, who knows you type thing. That's when the industry started switching over to that way, right? Not like, oh, we're going to pump all of this money into you and do that. Like, that phase was really phasing out. So this is around the time that I began working with him. So he already had a buzz going on, right, locally. So I'm like, okay, he came to me, we started chopping it up about the industry and things of that nature. And he wanted to be involved. He was like, well, what are you doing? Why are you not putting nothing out or whatever the case may be? For those who don't know, right, like, I'm just talking like you automatically know. Like, I'm in the entertainment industry. I've done things behind the scenes. I'm responsible for some flourishments of people's careers and things of that nature. I keep it under wraps, right? However, at the same time, so he came up to me and he was asking me about, when you putting out a project. And I was not putting out a project. I was still in school and I was still figuring some things out. And I didn't want to put out a project myself yet. I'm still working behind the scenes and things of that nature. I like to work behind the scenes. So I explained that to him and I was like, well, what's up with you? You know what I mean? And he was telling me his situation, how he wanted to do more. He wanted to do more. And I was like, yeah, you're good. Like, he wasn't the greatest artist. However, he was a good artist. And these are the times when you're good enough, you're good to go. Because some of the greatest won't have the ambition or won't find a way to align themselves correctly to actually convey that they're the greatest, right? So I was like, okay, this was a great opportunity for me because he was actually willing. At the same time, he was looking at, other executives were looking at him. So I was like, you know what, look, do your meetings with these other execs. You can come do a meeting with me, an extensive meeting with me, and you be the judge. You figure out who you want to work with or not. You know what I mean? So he did that, and he came back to me, and I wasn't shocked that these guys were constructing the same types of deals that I had for him, right? Because this is, like I told you, this was the wave of people looking at your independence to see how well you were doing on your own before they got involved with you. So he came back, he showed it to me. He showed me that, told me about the other deals, whatever the case may be. And I was like, okay. Long story short, he ended up choosing me, right? And we started working together immediately. Brought him in the studio a few times. And what made this good for me is because he really had an independent streak of his own. I give that to him. So the Taurus man, you see your Taurus man, his ambition. He was good at grasping attention. He was great at that, And although from what I've experienced and what I've heard from other people dealing with Tauruses is that they have this difficulty of expressing themselves. And I can vouch for that with females. However, with this particular situation, that was not the case with this guy. He was very vocal. He was very vocal. And as a matter of fact, there were numerous occasions where he would come to me and he would be telling me what he needed me to do after we had done the deal together, right? And the Pisces in me wants to help. So deep down, I'm like, yeah. However, my Virgo capabilities was like, no, all right? Because this is what you want. The goal here, my goal, my business goal, right, is to manage you. So my goal is to make sure that what you do becomes successful and you become a success at it, right? So you may feel that it's correct and all right for you to do something because that's your thoughts, that's your thought process, right? And that's what you feel. However, if that's the case, then you don't need a manager, like you need a cameraman. Like sometimes you'd be like, oh, I need an angle from this way, or I need this, that, and third. Or it will be something that's not even pertaining to the project getting done. It'd be like, oh, okay, well, I need you to, come down here to this place or this. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? If that's the case, you don't need a manager. You know what I'm saying? I'm your manager. I'm going to navigate you into the way that you need to be so you can, be successful at what you're doing. That's my job. So there were conflict there. However, my ability to assess and not get emotionally involved with what needs to be done, put all of that to a simmer. Like it didn't ever escalate to a point where it was like, oh, you're trying to control me or something like that. Like, no, I made it clear, like, this is my job and this is what I need to do. And I would even explain further, like, well, are you footing the bill? Like, I'm not footing the bill for that. So I said, listen, you came to me with an independent street. So you continue to do that. Like, if you think that's a good idea, go ahead and do it. Like, it was even stipulated in a contract. Like, if you can go and venture out and do whatever you want to do on your own, continue to do the same way that as I met you, that helps. You can come back to me and tell me what worked and what didn't. You're still showing your independent skills. So it was like a really an independent contractor contract, right? And, I was pretty much in charge of how it was marketed, how it was distributed, how it was presented to the masses, okay? So, like I said, we would have our little quarrels there. However, it wouldn't go any further, right? Now, something happened, a situation had occurred, and this is, I don't know if you can associate this with your Taurus people as well. Tauruses feel that everyone that they have a emotional base with is supposed to behave or respond to them in that same way. And not even that, just the same way that they will respond in that situation. So this fixed energy that the Taurus possesses, like they love you a certain way, they want you to love them back, right? Or if they deal with certain people in a certain way and people deal with them back that way, they want you to do the same, right? So a situation happened where, he got caught up. Well, first we went to do a video shoot for him, right? So while we were at the video shoot, I bumped into a guy that I went to school with, and he was talking about how he had a new radio show. It's like, oh yeah. I was like, well, I got a new artist that I'm working with. How can I get the music up into the radio show? Can we talk? So me and this guy, we ended up doing the deal. And when this guy got into a situation, like my guy got into a situation, right, to where he had to sit down for a minute. It was some legal troubles. So, and he had a spouse that was coming to me to tell me about his legal troubles. And it was explained to me that, I should put some money up to get him out of that situation. So, I know the law. His spouse knows the law like the back of her hand. She has degrees for law. So I said, we'll start with the 180-80 day. Chill out until the 180-80 day, which is 6 days, mind you. Chill out until the 180-80 day. Let's look at things from that standpoint, and then I'll consider. You know what I mean? I still didn't say yes. I said I'll consider, and because after the 180-80 day, bail usually comes down 9 times out of 10 from whatever they initially put, right? And they may release you on your own reconnaissance if the case is not that deep, or if they don't have enough evidence to really pin it on you and say, okay, well, we need to hold this guy. So based upon that information is why I made the decision, right? So it came back to me later that, I had made the wrong decision and that, there was a problem behind it. So this is where the emotional base of this Taurus man began to escalate to a point of pretty much no return. Like this stubbornness really kicked in at this point. And my thing was this, I explained to him like this, but again, he was vocal about it after he got out of the situation. He got out and he said, you know what? I don't want you putting my music out no more, Like, if that's the way you felt, like, how couldn't you get me out of that situation? And I'm like, yo, hold up, listen. The people that you were in, the people that helped get you into that jam are the people that you do business with when you make money together, right? You and I have not began making money together. So you should not expect me to get you out of a jam that pertains to my money. That's one, right? Explain this to him. So now a person, especially a Taurus, can look at you like, oh, you're supposed to be my friend. I thought you were supposed to be my friend. Now remember, I told you this. They believe, they have these strong beliefs, sun sign Taurus, is that you are supposed to reciprocate the same way, in the same fashion that they do. And if they have relationships that do that already, you're supposed to be just like those relationships. So I explained to him my side of the relationship, that I am your business partner. You know what I mean? Like, we don't get money together in the same way that put you in that situation, pretty much, right? So I stood my ground, still not emotionally involved. However, he was. And mind you, when he was in the situation, or whatever the case may be, you know, the creation, remember I told you I spoke to the guy at the radio show, like, his song ended up getting #3 on the charts while he was away, you know, and it was climbing. Like, I seen it. It was generating a response. Like, it was a good song. He was a good artist. I told you that, you know, and I don't take any of that away from him. And you know, when he told me that he no longer wanted me to push his music anymore, the Pisces part of me was disappointed. I was disappointed. The Virgo part of me did not allow me to get hurt. You know, I was disappointed though, because I did put my all into getting him to that part. You know what I mean? Of shooting a video, getting his song in the radio stations. And you know, this is when radio stations started popping up everywhere, not just the mainstream outlets. You know what I mean? So it was easier for us to get a buzz going on, especially locally, because we had these independent outlets growing. So it was a good spot for him. And you know, he ended up bailing out before the 180-80 day, and maybe like 2 days before the 180-80 day. And I wasn't upset behind that, but you know, I know a lot of people that have been in that situation before, and they'll tell you themselves, like, I'm sitting until the 180-80 day. They'll tell their family members, I'm sitting until the 180-80 day. You know what I mean? Here nor there though, you know, it's not my responsibility to tell people how to get themselves out of situations like that, especially when they put themselves into it. Now I can see if I put myself into it with this Taurus man, then I would feel some way type obligated in order to get him out of that jam. However, that wasn't the case. You know what I mean? So what I would say is, when dealing with the Taurus male, is, you know, they're loyal, right? However, their loyalty goes to the extent of their belief. You know, so that doesn't always come to rational terms. And what I mean by that is, like, they're very visual, like what they see is what they get type people. So it's like, if you're not helping them the way they've seen other people help them with their eyes, then they don't believe that you're their friend. They don't believe that you're helping them. They believe if you're using like subtle energy, or you're being what's that word? You're being blunt about what you mean, right? And it's logical. They don't get that part. Like, they put emotion into that part, and that's where the separation comes from, right? So it's like, you know, and even time, that's when the argumentative thing pops up, and it's like they even expect you to argue back with them about that. And it's like, you know, what really made me disappointed is, before we had this agreement together, this Taurus male, will always come to me and confide in me about, you know, life things, and I would give him my advice from my soul, and it would work for him. There's times that he came back and told me, remember when we spoke about that and you told me this, that, and the third? Like, tell me how that worked, and tell me how this transpired like that. So he already confided in me into making the correct decisions for him when it came to life in general. So what would make them think that I wouldn't do the same thing when in the business realm? You know what I mean? And that's, like I told you, like, this is no lie. Like, song became #3 on the charts that week, you know? So I knew I was doing the correct thing. So when it was told to me, like, you know, you have to be careful when you make investments with Tauruses. It's pretty much the moral of this story. This is what I get from making investments with a Taurus male. And this can extend to a Taurus female. You know, but I hope that this brings closure to people who have dealings with the Taurus male. Get in the comment box, let me know how this resonates.